What is up? May the 4th be with you. Welcome to the Theater Room, episode 15. I am Spartacris with the Generational Gaming and Entertainment Network, and on Tuesdays I like to give you any reviews for any of the big stuff that came out. Also, the news and announcements from the world of entertainment, mostly the world of comic books. Today we have a bunch of announcements, all pertaining to the MCU. Marvel gave us a huge amount of information yesterday, and I want to go through it all. Before I do, if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe. I'm here every Tuesday around 8:30 with the same kind of information. I try to watch all the Marvel stuff, all the comic book stuff, just random movies. I'm still trying to make my way through the Bond films, all the TV shows and what have you. And I want to try and bring it to you guys, make it easy to kind of keep up on everything for anyone who's got busy schedules like us. We're all fathers, we're all parents, we're all nerds. So let's kind of get right into it. Let me pull up the image here. Marvel yesterday released a whole bunch of information and a bunch of new updates that we didn't have before on the upcoming movies of the MCU. I have a full list in front of me of the TV shows and the movies, so we'll go kind of through them all, make sure we got the release dates for everything. But we have official titles for a bunch of movies that we didn't know. We have official names for a bunch of movies that we didn't know. And there's just more rumors and information swirling out there. So just to kind of quickly go through it, here's the announcements that came out yesterday. Black Widow. We already know there was really no new announcements, just a little bit of extra footage. That is coming out July 7th. Just before that, for anyone who's interested, the Loki TV show is coming. That'll be on the Disney Plus channel. There was a teaser for that dropped yesterday also. Right now, just as a quick synopsis of the Loki show, it seems like Loki grabbing the Tesseract in Avengers Endgame, but this is the Loki from the first Avengers movie, so he's still like the bad guy, full blown, I want to take over the world Loki. Him taking the Tesseract and escaping when technically he was not supposed to escape that timeline, he was supposed to be captured, is causing some sort of rift in the space-time continuum. Owen Wilson is going to be in the show working for the Time Bureau, which is essentially a police for time travel, just to make sure people don't mess with the timeline too much. I do feel like it's going to have a lot to do with why the Infinity Stones being gone. So there's something, they're not there to kind of keep the timeline intact. And it seems like in the teaser trailer, Loki's almost going to be helping him or helping the Time Bureau to try and reestablish key moments in the MCU that we've seen so far. I feel like there's going to be a bunch of cameos and a bunch of moments that we've seen in other movies that he's going to be visiting. And, otherwise, we don't really know what it's about. And we don't really know. Honestly, there's been no rumors of cameos, no side characters besides Owen Wilson and him. We don't know who else is showing up in that show. Then July 7th is the Black Widow movie. I'll get into a little bit of a deep dive for that after I go through the entire list. Next is coming this summer. It's called the What If, which is basically it's an animated show about storylines that could have happened if little things were different. For example, each episode is going to be a new story. One of them is going to be what if Peggy Carter became Captain America and got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. One of them is going to focus on Chadwick Boseman, the late great Chadwick Boseman, reprising his role as Black Panther in a voice-over capacity. In that show, there's another one with someone else being Iron Man. Probably what if the Marvel Zombies will play a part in one of the episodes. That's all going to be a part of that show. They haven't released how long it's going to be, how long the episodes are going to be. They haven't given us a synopsis of what we can expect besides a couple of glimpses of the animation and the stories. But that is coming this summer. There's still no fully official release date. After that, it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in the theaters, and then also probably on Disney Plus. Although by then they might just be full-blown in the theaters for a while. That's September 3rd of this year. After that, we have the Eternals movie with a huge cast: Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, Kumail Nanjiani, and a bunch of other people I think Jon Snow, Kit Harington is going to be in it also. That's essentially a new superhero team, a bunch of immortals that have been living among us this entire time. I know Salma Hayek's character can talk to essentially the gods or celestials that created people, but that's coming November 5th of this year. That's a very big release. But now, before we get to the next movie after that, we have the Hawkeye series coming later this year, and Miss Marvel, which is going to be on Disney Plus alongside Hawkeye, coming later this year. Both of those stories are designed to, well, Hawkeye is designed to hand down the Hawkeye mantle to, I don't know, I think it's his daughter. So by the end of that show, there will be someone new with the Hawkeye mantle. And then Miss Marvel is about someone who, it's a young girl who is just a kind of an Avengers fanboy, and she develops her own powers. We don't know how she gets them. There's various stories in the comics, but that's coming, and that's going to be the first, I believe, Middle Eastern lead character. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me, but that's a big deal. That's also going to directly lead into the second Captain Marvel, which we'll get to in a second. But after Miss Marvel, Spider-Man 3 No Way Home comes out December of this year. And that's going to be a big one. Doctor Strange is going to be in that. I have a feeling Scarlet Witch is going to be in that. We already know that Alfred Molina is coming back as Doc Ock, the same character he played from the Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi movie. We know Jamie Foxx is coming back from playing Electro, or a new version of Electro. But I believe it is the same character from the Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie. And there's been a lot of rumors of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showing up. It's essentially going to be an Into the Spider-Verse style story in live action in the MCU. That's a huge one. And I think that that's going to directly lead into Doctor Strange 2, which will then essentially guide the rest of the MCU on a path for Phase 4 and 5. After Spider-Man 3 No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness comes out March of next year. Scarlet Witch has already been confirmed. She's going to be a big part of that movie. Now, as far as just so everyone's on the same page, Doctor Strange is he's not considered the Ancient One. He's not the kind of head wizard of the guild in New York or anything like that. He basically protects the New York Sanctum. I believe by the end of it, he will become essentially the leader of the wizards. Excuse me. He'll become the new Ancient One. We've already seen how powerful he is. He went toe to toe with Thanos when Thanos had a good chunk of Infinity Stones. Excuse me. Oh man, something stuck in my throat. That one means that the Multiverse of Madness essentially confirms they're going to be scouring the different multiverses, him and Scarlet Witch. We don't know what for. I believe it's going to be to find her children who disappeared at the end of her show. Maybe to somehow bring Vision back to life. I assume White Vision, essentially the Vision that was still around at the end of WandaVision, will be a part of that movie. And by the end of that movie, we'll know, I hope, fingers crossed, we'll know who the big bad's going to be in the MCU for the foreseeable future. After Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in March 25th, we have Thor Love and Thunder coming out May 6th of next year. It's already been confirmed. Natalie Portman is coming back as Jane Foster. She will be wielding Mjolnir and wielding the power of Thor. I've kind of questioned this before because in our timeline, there is no Mjolnir. It was returned to an older timeline. The only thing we have left is Stormbreaker, and there's no enchantment on Stormbreaker that only certain people can hold it. Essentially, anybody, if you're strong enough, could wield it. So, there's a big question as to how she gets the hammer and how she gets the power of Thor. I know they could always make a new one, but that doesn't sound like Marvel style, especially for the MCU. But in that one, we're going to see the Guardians of the Galaxy again. At least I would guess for like the first 10 to 15 minutes. They'll probably be a part of the beginning of the movie because if we remember correctly, at the end of Avengers Endgame, the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor were riding together as the Guardians of the Galaxy. So they're going to be in that one. It's been confirmed. We don't know how that's going to go from there. Taika Waititi is directing again. So if you like Thor Ragnarok, expect a very similar fun ride with a lot of good action and visuals. After Thor Love and Thunder, we have the newly named Black Panther Wakanda Forever coming July 8th of 2022. This is another one that there's a ton of questions about. With Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passing away at such a young age, he's not able to come back to play T'Challa in the next movie. There's been no clear announcement as to how they're going to handle that. All they've said is they're not going to recast the role. And all the characters or the actors from the first movie are returning for this one. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure they're gonna pay homage to what Chadwick did in the short time that he was a part of the MCU, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to move on without him. But there's been no information about that. Wakanda Forever, it kind of speaks to how big of a deal that nation is in the MCU overall. So the movie will probably focus more on the world of Wakanda and not necessarily just one character, like the first one kind of did. But we're waiting to get more information on that. I'm sure before the end of the year we'll get some sort of info. After that, the next movie coming out is The Marvels. So this is the sequel to Captain Marvel, and they're calling it The Marvels for a few reasons. One, Monica Rambeau, who in WandaVision we witnessed her getting her powers, will be a part of this movie. She has a history with Carol Danvers, so that's going to be a big portion of it. And then also Miss Marvel from her TV show is going to be in this movie as well. It's already been confirmed. So you have 3 superpowered women headlining this movie. Other than that, we don't know the villains. We don't know what the story is going to be. We don't know what time period it's going to take place in. The first one took place in the 90s. This one may just kind of catch up real quick and take place in the current timelines. We have no idea. After the Marvels, we have the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, February 17th of 2023. Now that, zero idea what that's about. We already know Paul Rudd is coming back. We already know, all the same actors are basically coming back for the movie. Quantumania kind of tells me that they're going to be dealing with the quantum realm. I'm sure now in the comic books, the quantum realm is its own realm. There's civilization, there's life in that world. So I'm assuming we're going to be exploring that a lot more in the next movie. And then the last big announcement, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming out May 2023. Again, the way the movies have left off after Endgame. Yo, what's up, Scythe? Thanks for jumping in. The way the movies ended after Endgame, the Guardians of the Galaxy were searching for Gamora. They were with Thor, so in Thor: Love and Thunder, we'll see how they deal with Thor, and then I'm sure in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, we'll see how they find or how what they do with Gamora, going to kind of get her back into the fold. In the last one, they set up Adam Warlock at the end of Guardians 2, so I'm sure he'll be a big part of it. James Gunn is back to direct that one, so again, if you like Guardians 1 and 2, you can expect to love this one as well. And then the only last kind of teaser they gave us was the big Fantastic Four style number 4 at the very end. Excuse me, they gave us no information as to, about that movie, just that it's coming. They just kind of reminded us hey, listen, we haven't forgotten about Fantastic Four. I do think it seems to me like the next big event movie, the next Avengers style movie is Spider-Man 3 No Way Home. And then after that, the next big movie that Marvel wants is Fantastic Four. Essentially have everything lead to an introduction of the Fantastic Four. And I think that might mean Doctor Doom, who really could be a big bad and could kind of handle a few movies and a few heroes on his own. Directed by John Watts. That's all we kind of know. We don't know anything about casting. There's been tons of rumors out there. And then there hasn't been any word yet on a new Avengers movie, but it's coming. They will. Marvel's kind of smart. I guarantee you right now what they're doing is introducing these new characters like the Eternals and Miss Marvel and just kind of, getting everyone in place, getting them ready. And then, they'll hit us with an announcement that a new Avengers movie is coming. But I don't think we're going to see an Avengers movie probably until 2025 or later. They have a lot of setup to do, and I'm sure before they start reminding us of the original Avengers, they want to get us more involved with these new characters and get us a little more hyped to see these new characters interact. Because if you remember the first Avengers movie, one of the big things that we wanted, that excited us about that, was seeing the characters Captain America, Thor, Iron Man interact. Then it almost became normal for us at this point. We're kind of desensitized by it. I guarantee you what they want to do is kind of get us amped up for these characters to interact. So we got time for that. So that's the full list of everything that was announced. It's huge. You can see the logos on the screen here. Every single one of them is huge. I did hear specifically about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I heard an interesting theory, which was basically that Guardians 1 And two, the titles almost referenced a big death in the movies. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. But perfect example is Guardians 2. The lettering was like a bluish color, or a blue, not a bluish, blue color. And in that movie, Yondu, who's completely blue, died. The first Guardians was almost, it looked almost like wood, kind of like a brownish, woodish color. And Groot dies in that one. So this one has kind of a mechanical, metal kind of look to it. And the only character that comes to mind when I'm thinking about that is Rocket Raccoon. I don't know if that means he's gonna die, but it's an interesting theory. And he's kind of a beloved character, so it's possible that he could die, and that would be pretty sad in my opinion. But now let's get into Black Widow. That's the first major movie coming out for Phase 4 of the MCU, so I want to kind of jump into that. First, as a deep dive, I feel like we all should know Black Widow's history in the MCU, but just to give you a rundown, she was introduced in Iron Man 2. She was basically just checking out Tony to see if he would be good enough to join the Avengers. Since then, she's appeared in many movies. She was a big player in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. She's been in all the Avengers movies, and she's kind of grown so much that in Avengers Endgame, she essentially was leading the Avengers team when 50% of the universe was deleted from existence. She became a big part of it. She sacrificed herself to get the Soul Stone in order to allow the Avengers a chance to bring everyone back. So because she sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone, she wasn't able to be brought back. So as of right now in our timeline, she is dead and she's no longer a part of the Avengers. This movie takes place after Captain America Civil War. So that point in the timeline, she's on the run for helping Captain America escape. And it seems like she goes maybe to her home village or hometown or whatever. She tries to reunite with her family, who are a big part of this movie. And it seems like the storyline is going to be that she tries to take down the Red Room. So the Red Room we got a glimpse of in Avengers Age of Ultron. It was essentially a school for assassins. They trained her from a young age to be a deadly killer, even going so far as to making her sterile so she can't have children, to prevent her from having any attachments that would stop her from doing the job. Brutal stuff. In the latest teaser and in some of the trailers, it's pretty much been confirmed that she goes back to her... It's not her real sister, but it's kind of like a sister who also had experience with the Red Room, and they essentially team up to take down the Red Room once and for all. Now, her sister is Yelena Belova, played by... hold on, let me pull the picture. Yelena Belova is her sister, and in this movie... She's played by Florence Pugh, so she's got to be equally trained, maybe not as good of a fighter as Black Widow is. But, so she's a big deal. She's going to be fighting with her, and there's a lot of rumors that she's going to be essentially take over the Black Widow mantle by the end of the movie, and that'll technically be how the Black Widow character continues, which would fit in theme. It seems like in all these shows, in the new Iron Wars, by the end of that, Riri Williams, who's the character who's headlining that show, is going to essentially be the new Iron Man, or her own version of Iron Man. After Hawkeye, there will be someone else taking over the Hawkeye name. Miss Marvel's a young hero that can kind of is coming up in the ranks. We have Sam Wilson now as the new Captain America. It seems like everything right now is about replacing some of the old characters with new fresh faces and introducing new heroes. So it's very possible. Excuse me. It's very likely that she will be taking over the Black Widow name before the end of the movie. It looks like at first maybe she's not too happy to see Natasha Romanoff, but by the end of the movie they'll be buddy again. They're also going to be breaking out Black Widow's father, or father figure, I believe it's the father, played by David Harbour, who's playing a character called the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian in the comics is essentially the Russian version of Captain America, or the equivalent of Captain America. It's the Soviet Union was trying to develop their own super soldier serum, and this is what they came up with. In the trailer, I mean, David Harbour's a great actor, and in the trailer, it looks like he's having a lot of fun with the role. We know he can do action movies. We know he can fight. It looks like, he may have let himself go or has been in prison a little bit, but I think he'll be a funny character, a good character, and you can already see him going toe to toe with Taskmaster. Come on. Oh, and I left my water in the other room. So anyway, he's going to be a big part of the movie. And then the biggest question mark is actually Melina Vastakov. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Melina Vastakov is played by Rachel Weisz, and she's essentially like a mother figure to Natasha and Yelena. So in the comic books, she's kind of historically a villain, from what I understand. I'm not 100% familiar with her character, but there's a big rumor that what if she is Taskmaster, and we just don't know it yet. I don't know what's going to happen. From what I've read, she essentially trained to be the Black Widow in the Red Room, and then and essentially she wasn't good enough. She's always kind of been jealous of Natasha Romanoff for being the best student or the best result of the Red Room. So, they haven't given much information about her character besides the name she's playing. We haven't seen her. We haven't seen her much in the trailers. So there's a big question mark on her and how what part she's going to play in the movies. But, she's a big name actress too. So I feel like you don't get somebody that big for like just kind of a small role. Lastly, the main villain of the movie is Taskmaster. Jesus Christ. So in the comic books, Taskmaster essentially is usually a, I guess like not an assassin, like a mercenary. But his kind of special ability is that he can mimic the fighting style or the fighting moves and the reflexes of any person he sees fight. So he can essentially see you do a move once, and he'll be able to recreate it exactly as you did it, as efficiently as you did it. So in the comic books, it's really anybody. If he sees you do something, he can mimic it. Besides things like super strength and all that kind of stuff, I'm assuming they're going to give him some sort of upgrade in strength and speed to be able to do things like Captain America and stuff. But you could see in the trailers, he is holding, or you can see in the picture, he's got a shield like Captain America, and he uses it exactly like him. He's got a sword like Hawkeye. He shoots a bow and arrow, and then there's a few shots of him mimicking Black Widow, almost like a mirror. So, he's a formidable fighter. I hope by the end of the movie they don't kill him, because I feel like he can be a character that comes back time and time again. And because he's in a full bodysuit and you can't see his face, you don't need to have a specific actor playing him all the time. You can kind of keep the character going, and he can come back and to fight Sam Wilson, Winter Soldier, Black Panther. He can come back to fight a lot of people. It doesn't have to be just Black Widow. So who knows what they're going to do at the end of this. I have a feeling that the character Val from Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. So this movie was originally supposed to come out before that show did. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character in that show was supposed to be introduced in this movie. So in that show, her whole character was just about recruiting John Walker and making him U.S. agent. I have a feeling that her part in this movie is going to be recruiting Taskmaster by the end, by the middle, whatever it is, or even maybe being the one who sends him out to try and stop Natasha. But so that's another big question mark. We know very little about him, just that he can hold his own with some big name players. So he hasn't been introduced yet in the MCU. This is his first appearance, and I really hope it's not his last, because there's a lot of potential with his character. And so that's really it. I mean, that's all the major players. We don't know of any cameos, and it's going to be hard to kind of really guess the cameos because of the what time in the timeline the movie takes place. Now, there has been rumors, or I think some hints dropped, that Marvel wants to do a Black Widow trilogy. I don't know if that means this is the end for Scarlett Johansson in the MCU, or if by the end of this somehow they bring her back to life and bring her back to our timeline. But who knows? Maybe after the Loki show they bring her back. He brings her back to our timeline somehow. I really don't know. But then that's it. I apologize for all the coughing. I thought I was completely over the cold, but apparently something's tickling my throat, and I'm not. Otherwise, other big news in the video game world. Resident Evil 8 Village comes out this Friday. I played the demo. I'm super excited for the game, and I will be streaming the game as often as I can until I can get to the end. Check us out on Twitter. On Twitch, and on Twitter too. We post on Twitter. And keep an eye out for the rest of the Generational Gaming and Entertainment Network, One Shot, The Captain, ScytheX, and myself streaming throughout the week on Twitch. And I will be back here next Tuesday. I'll give an early review of Resident Evil 8 and come up with some new stuff. I will be watching the next few Bond movies over the next week. I think I got to catch up on Mighty Ducks, so there's a lot going on. If you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.